Hello, welcome to our Form 1 English lesson. My name is Nyabuti Peter. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about writing letter addresses. And so I have got 3 objectives that we must be able to meet. So by the end of this class, I expect that we are going to be able to write addresses correctly. Secondly, I do expect that you as a learner, you're going to be in a position to identify the common mistakes that people make when they are writing the addresses. And lastly, I do expect that you're going to understand the important components of addresses. Writing letter addresses. So, have you ever written a letter? I guess the answer is yes. My second question, which is the first part of the letter that you wrote? Well, I guess your response is the address. So addresses are very important. As you can see from your response, or because you have written a letter, you know that when you are writing a letter, the first part of the letter is the addresses. That is why we are saying that addresses are very important, especially when you are writing a letter, whether it is official letter, which is also referred as formal, or friendly letter, which are also referred as informal letters. Maybe you are wondering, why are addresses important? Addresses are a very important part of letters since they help us to ensure that the letter reaches the right person or the recipient. So addresses are very important because they will help the people who are delivering those letters to take those letters to the right person. So the next question that we are supposed to deal with is, what is an address? What is an address? So address refers to details or particulars of a place to which letters or parcels are to be sent or mailed. So when you are writing your address, you must ensure that you include the place where that particular letter or parcel is going to be sent to. So something to note is that when you are writing these addresses, it must include the name of the town, box number, and also the postal code. It is also important to note that an informal or friendly letters have one address, while the official, which are also referred as formal letters, have 2 addresses, and that is the sender's address. The sender's address refers to the address of the person who is writing that particular letter, and the recipient address, which refers to that address of the person who is going to receive that particular letter. The sender's address, it refers to the address of the person who is writing the letter. That is why it is also referred as the writer's address. This address appears at the top of the page. Actually, it is the first address that you begin with, especially when you are writing official or formal letters. It is written on the right side for friendly letters, or which are also referred as informal letters, and it is either written on the right or left side for formal or official letter, depending on the format that the person who is writing that letter wants to use. Something to note is that when you are writing this writer's address or sender's address, there are some things that you're supposed to keep in mind. Many people make mistakes when they are doing or writing these addresses. So the first thing that you're supposed to always remember is that the name of the person who is writing the letter is not supposed to appear above the writer's address. Instead, you are supposed to either begin with the name of the institution or the box number. Likewise, it is also important to note that the date is not part of the writer's address. Many students, when they are writing this letter, you will find that they will join the date with this particular, or what we are referring as the writer's address. That is going to be a mistake. So what you're supposed to do is that when you are writing the writer's or the sender's address, ensure that you skip a line, then you write the date. Don't join the date with the writer's or the sender's address. Let us now examine an example of the writer's address. From the example that I have here, as you can note, is that it is, first of all, it is written using the format that we refer as block format. And the reason why we are saying that this is a block format, it is because everything, every line, every sentence here is beginning on a straight line. And that is the main reason why we are referring this address as using a format that we are referring as the block format. Another thing to note about this writer's address is that you can note that it is not starting with the name of the person who is writing this particular letter. Instead, the writer of this address is using the name of an institution like Kamasharia Girls High School. So when you are writing your senders or the writer's address, avoid writing or beginning with your name. Instead, you can begin your letter with the name of the institution. Then there's something to note about this particular address. It has the box number. That is something that is very important that you must include in your letter. That is 272. This is the box number. Another important feature of this address is the postal code. And in this example that I have, you can note that our postal code is 10204. Ensure that when you are writing your address, it contains the postal code. The next part, which is the last part of our address, is the name of the town, which is also referred as the physical address, and the name of our town in this case is Kiriaini. Also, note that the date, which is 14th September, the year 2020, is not part of the writer's address. As you can note here, there is a space that is left between the two parts. So when you are writing your letter, ensure that you don't join these particular two features. That is the writer's address and the date. Something also to note is that this block format, mostly it is commonly used in official or what we refer as formal letters. Let us now examine another format that the addresses make use of. So unlike the first address that we have just looked at, the one that we said was making use of a block format, and the reason why we said it was making use of block format is because everything was beginning on a straight line. When you look at this one is not using the block format because not every line is beginning on a straight line. Instead, this one is using the words or the lines are slanting. They are moving in that particular direction. And the addresses that makes use of this slant are referred as indented. This is the format that we are referring as indented format. So this is another format that you can use when you are writing your address. Something to note about this indented format is that it is mostly used when we are writing informal or friendly letters. So when you are writing your friendly letter, you can decide either to use the block format, the one that you have discussed earlier on, or you can decide to make use of the indented. This is where it is commonly used, but it is not used in official letter. So always remember that indented format for addresses, it's only used for friendly letters. Something just to jog our mind, what to emphasize what you have already said. Always remember that you should not include your name. Just like this case, we are not seeing the name, but instead we are seeing the name of the institution. Remember also to include the box number. The 3444 is their box number. Also include the postal code 001 and let your address have the name of the town. It is also important to always remember that you are supposed to punctuate your address well, so that at least we have capital letters being used where it is important, like S in Safaricom, H in housing, and L in limited, because those are the important words. The same case applies to P. P stands for postal. So because we cannot be able to write the whole of postal, we write capital P, then there is a dot there. Then O stands for office, postal office. Since we cannot be able to write the whole of the word, that the word office, the whole of it, so we write the capital O, then there is the dot. Always remember that the box is also supposed to begin with the capital B. So remember that when you are writing your addresses. Let's now shift our attention to the recipient address. Just like the name, let us now examine the important tips to always remember when you are writing a letter. So the first one is that even if you know the person who you are writing a letter to, always avoid writing their name, and instead you are encouraged to use their title, because obviously when you are writing a letter to somebody who's working somewhere, they have a title, and that title can be principal, can be the deputy, it can be the chief executive officer, the manager, and many more. So we encourage you not to use their name, but their title. And the reason why we are saying that, when you use their name, that may lead to the letter not being attended urgently. And this will happen especially when that person who you wrote their name is not present. So if you want your letter to be attended to urgently, maybe because you have applied for a job and it is the last day, so if you want your letter to be attended to very fast, ensure that you write the name, the title, and not the name of the recipient. Another important thing to note is that if, when you are writing your letter, in your salutation, you decide to begin your letter with "Dear Sir" or "Dear Madam" or "Dear Sir stroke Madam," this will affect how you are going to close your letter. This simply means when you are going to close your letter or finish your letter, you are supposed to write "Yours faithfully." So when you make use of "Dear Sir," "Dear Madam," or "Dear Sir stroke Madam," it will imply that when you are going to finish your letter or to close your letter, you're supposed to use "yours faithfully." On the other hand, if you decide to use "Dear Mr. Asigogo" or "Dear Mrs. Bibiana," for instance, or "Mr. Njogu," this will also affect the way you're going to finish your letter. So what you're supposed to do when you use their names, you are supposed to finish your letter with yours sincerely. Thank you for listening to me. I hope that you have learned something today.